Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we have a 9-game slate here on Monday to kick off this work week with you guys. In this one, we are taking a look at a pretty fun matchup. Milwaukee, who just got pounded by Memphis, is in New Orleans at this point, taking on the Pelicans. Take a look at that one. Also got another game video and our player props up for you. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along with us. Also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where we have our great written content for you guys all season long, and our odds finder tool that you can use to make sure you're getting the best juice back on all these bets you make this season. Nate, let's jump into this 9-game slate and then talk Bucks and Pelicans.
Yeah, I mean, we got Cavs and Jazz with some intriguing revenge narratives there after that trade. The Jazz +6 right now on the road. Raptors are +7.5 at Philly. OG Anunoby probably going to miss another game. Gary Trent questionable there, and they're struggling. Orlando's +7 at Atlanta. We break that game down for you. Think that spread's a little too big for a team on a 6-game win streak. And the Spurs +4 at Houston. The Blazers -7 at OKC. Mavs with Luka questionable -3.5 at Minnesota. The Bucks, we're going to talk about this one here, -1 at the Pels. Totals at 228. Not really that much movement there. Lakers on a back-to-back are +9.5 at Phoenix, who got Devin Booker back, and he promptly went off. And then the Hornets are +10 at the Kings. I mean, you said the Bucks got wrecked in Memphis. Then they come home and destroy the Jazz without Giannis or Chris Middleton. Middleton's going to miss this game as well. Giannis, of course, you would expect to be back, and he should be back. It was just rest, I believe, for him. But the key note there was that, the Bucks getting back to playing well as a team, and Drew Holiday getting back to his full powers, it seems. He'd been in and out of the lineup for a while, dealing with a non-COVID illness, and that seemed to hamper him. And now, he's starting to cook again. Had a really nice line in just 27 minutes in that blowout win, 22-9-5. And now he's facing his former team, of course, and we talk about how he's just as important in some ways as Giannis is for the Bucks' success. And if you look at the Bucks and be like, how can I back this team? They're so inconsistent. Like they crush the Warriors, then they get crushed, then they crush another team. You can look at Drew and say, they're much more used to playing with Drew and Giannis as the centerpieces than Chris Middleton, who has shown a lot of rust since coming back and was not necessarily super helpful. Definitely not on the defensive end as much. But where I lean Bucks a little bit, but I am on the over as a firm pick here at 228, anywhere 230 or lower, in my opinion. I mean, these are two teams that can obviously fill it up. That, like I said when we talked about Milwaukee-Memphis last week, they're two teams that attack the paint and might be able to limit other teams from attacking the paint, but they can't limit each other. Like, you look at Zion, the last time he played Milwaukee, 34-8-6, and that was with Brook Lopez healthy and playing 35 minutes. So it's not like that rim protector can stop Zion. Nobody can stop Zion right now. Giannis came right back with 38-10-4. Milwaukee struggling to guard the paint in general, aside from that Jazz game where Utah just didn't show up. I mean, they got pounded by Memphis down low. And they've been giving up fast break points as well. And the pace is just so notable. I mean, I only have to take the last 7 meetings of these teams. They've been playing shootouts for a while now, but the last 7 is a 107 pace, with the Bucks scoring about 126 a game, the Pels scoring 117. You look at the Bucks in their last 3 games, pace of 105 to beat the Warriors, 101 against Memphis, and then they go down to 92 against Utah, but still scored at such an efficient rate without Giannis that they got 123 points. And I mean, with Giannis, their pace is obviously going to ramp back up. The Pelicans with Zion, we talk about all the time, their pace is about 100 versus 95 without him. They get 9 more free throw attempts per game. The defensive rating, I don't really buy the fact that it's slightly worse without him. I don't think that he's a defensive plus necessarily. I think he's, right now he's about being point Zion, attacking the rim at all costs and helping the game get up and down in that fashion. And I think that that's great for Giannis and for the Bucks as well. Also, the fact that Larry Nance Jr. is doubtful, basically, for this one is good for Giannis. He would have been one of the guys to try to slow him down. The Pels, I mean, their defense was really good before they went on this 3-game road trip, and then it just kind of, the bottom fell out. They had 121 defensive rating and gave up 124 points per game, and really struggled inside the arc in that span. And so now, even coming back home, I don't expect a lights-out defensive performance. And they're slight underdogs here. They're 8-2 to the over when they're underdogs this year. 17-12 to the over as home dogs last year, and this year as well, going over at a high clip against the East. And the Bucks, an incredible high clip against the West since last year in terms of going over, playing with pace, and scoring about 118, including those matchups with New Orleans I mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, great matchup, really fun stuff for sure. And as we would expect, like Zion versus Giannis, even if that's not the direct battle that we consistently get, although we have seen actually a couple of times where they go at the rim together, which is always the most fun thing ever. I think like for them in terms of points in this one, it's just the only reason this game is still at 227.5 is because of the Bucks defense, which has been the best in the league by far. And also the worst offense on the road by far, and that's the reason. I don't know what you necessarily attribute that to be honest, nearly as much. The 14-point disparity between how many points they're scoring at home versus on the road. If you look even just at the last 4-ish road games, dating back, let's say the last 10 days or so of playing basketball, or 2 weeks really, that they have the worse than the Orlando Magic on the road as well, which is also really bad, and we talk about that in the other game, but that's been getting better. The Bucks on the road lately, yeah, you're just a little bit worried. I like I said, I don't really know what to attribute that beatdown in Memphis to. They just basically gave up by the time the second quarter came around, to be honest. And I mean, Memphis throws its best punch at you. That's what it's known for, bringing it in the first quarter a lot as well. And then just seeing if you can take it. And Milwaukee didn't. They just folded and were we're good on the road here. I would venture to guess that there's going to be plenty more pride left in this one. They at least got the win without their key players, like you said, without Giannis and Chris Middleton playing against the Jazz, still pulling out that win, but that's at home. Now we're back on the road, and you're just thinking, all right, so what do we do with this? Back to a roughly 5-game road trip for them. I would hope that that's been talked about, that they have the worst offensive rating on the road over the course of their last 5 in that situation, and that's what is going to be the difference in this one. With like you said, with Drew, you feel a lot better about all of this. You feel a lot better about the points, but this is, you said it, there's been an average of 246 points a game scored, at 47 almost in this matchup over the course of the last, even just like you said, you could go back 7 meetings. If you look at the last 3 seasons, basically that's what I'm looking at here, is their last 4 matchups over the course of 3 seasons. And so I could at least get that other Zion season before he was out last year. And yeah, you're looking at 121 points a game for the Pellies and 126 points a game for the Bucks. So the ones on the road are the 2 where they've scored the fewest amount of points. They scored 112 a couple matchups ago, and then before that they scored 126 on the road against New Orleans. Those are their 2 lowest totals in that time frame against them. And you look at why, like you said, it's points in the paint, and it's fast break points. And both of these teams are doing that at a high clip. But like you said, also, New Orleans has really been much worse defending the paint, even wherever they are this season, than they've been in the past. And I don't really, Zion's doing fine, but it's also the pace. And so the teams are getting a lot of fast break points, as New Orleans is just happy to go up and down, up and down, up and down. And if that's going to be the case, then I mean, I think I would venture to guess that Milwaukee's down to play at that pace. Like you said, that's how they played against this team in the past. I think that they are happy to continue moving the ball up and down the court as well, and shooting plenty of threes as well. But those points in the paint are going to be available because of the fact that New Orleans in their last 4 at home as well have failed to guard the paint better than 20th in the league right now in terms of defending that area of the court. So there's just a lot of reason for points. I don't know. It seems like -1.5 is a little bit off for this New Loyola team. Like, why are they dogs at home? But it's basically a pick 'em at this point. And I think probably we're seeing the money at least shifting towards Milwaukee at this point. I believe it opened right at about this, maybe like it's moved like a half a point for Milwaukee. So it seems pretty even on both sides in terms of where the action's coming in. And it's really just a matter of how you feel like about the fourth quarter and who's going to finish this one. But much better bet to me would this be for this game to get at least 230, 232 in that range tonight.
Yeah, you mentioned the fourth quarter, and I mean, that's where Milwaukee usually puts the clamps on, but New Orleans is second in fourth quarter scoring, and Zion, we've seen, you're not going to stop him down the stretch. You also talked about, what happened with that Memphis game. Well, Drew Holiday didn't play again. And in a lot of these road games at Charlotte that went under, at San Antonio, both Giannis and Drew Holiday did not play. Then you got some matchups where you really would expect an under. The Knicks, at Magic, at Dallas. We don't know what to make of that Houston game. But a few of these games you throw in there. Middleton, like I was saying, he's like clogging up the works. He was like 1 for 11 at Orlando. Right. I mean, he's just not back yet. And it's kind of awkward to try to integrate him. The Bucks have shown the ability to get into shootouts. I mean, 136, 132 at OKC. And I mean, their defense is not as reliable as it was early in the season to be like, oh, I'm really scared that they're just going to play a game that stays under 110. I mentioned some of those key notes that the fast break points and points in the paint are what you worry about here. And look, there's struggles on the road scoring. They got to figure this out because, man, this is a brutal road trip that they have coming up here. It's the first of 5 on the road. They're at Cleveland, at Brooklyn, at Boston, and at Chicago. So, I mean, maybe early season, they're kind of looking at their schedule like, yeah, we can let that slide on the road. We come back home. We take care of business. Well, it's time to step up on the road. I mean, you can't just lose 5 games in a row here where you're not going to compete against, really the cream of the crop coming up in this stretch. So I think They do bring it on both ends, and like we've seen the last couple of years, like Milwaukee scores like 121 in wins. So if you want to parlay them with the over, sure, but I think I just take the over here and count on both teams scoring.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. And like I said, points is where I lean, and exactly what you said was my thinking here. When you look at the 5 games that they have on the road, Pelicans, Cavs, Nets, C's, Bulls, whatever. Bulls pretty good at home sometimes, not against the Knicks. But yeah, with those 5 here, you got to imagine that they've already been talked to, and that boot is like pretty up their butts about the way that the offense is being played, getting that pace back up to 100 plus, as opposed to the random like 99s, like you said, that they're putting up against teams like Dallas and losing those games. So anyway, that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along, coming back at you each and every weekday this season. So until we see you next, happy betting.